It's good to see you or not see you. I've got a very, very, very special guest tonight who has become a good friend, and he's one of the nicest guys around. If you met this guy, I met him a few years ago, but I really got to know him this past year or two, being a part of the Buddy Holly Educational Foundation work there in Lafayette, Louisiana, and he came down there this past year and was a part of that. And I knew of him, but I'd never really spent a lot of time with him. Anyway, he showed up, and what they do is they pair songwriters, older guys like me with young people with record deals and really talented individuals, and they pair you up. They pair up the old guys like me with the young people that still believe in love, and we write some songs together. And so they paired everybody up, and Sonny was just kind of standing there, and they had neglected to pair him up with anybody. So I kind of went to the person that was organizing it and said, "Hey, Sonny doesn't have anybody to write with today." And so she walked him over to the board with a long list of songwriters, everybody from Beth Nilsson Chapman to Jim Lauderdale. And she said, "Well, Sonny, who do you want to write with?" And he said, "You know what? I'll go with Kevin." And that really made me feel good. And to see the guy, if he would, you would never know that he had written Rave On, which is Rolling Stones, one of the top 154th best all-time rock and roll songs ever. And he wrote "Oh Boy" by Buddy Holly. And he's just as humble as can be. And in fact, when I told him that he was coming on here tonight, he was I could tell he got a little nervous. But anyway, he's out there in frozen Oklahoma City tonight, and I'm going to bring him on now. So give a big virtual hand for Sonny West, and let's see if I can do that. Well, I'm trying. There we go. Hey, Sonny, how you doing?
Just fine. Great introduction, by the way.
Man, you know, I have been so excited about tonight, and I thought I had all my ducks in a row. I really worked hard to do some research and get all my ducks in a row, and basically give the link to this thing. And I was so excited that I decided to upgrade to a really good microphone that was more like radio quality. And
Right.
right before I called you, they have the option in the software to do a test stream to test out the sound. And so I did that, and wouldn't you know, it completely destroyed the link to the thing. So anyway, you're here and I'm here, and I'm really excited to talk to you. Tell me, we both have a connection with Buddy Holly, of course, through my dad, Bob Montgomery, who wrote
Yeah.
Heartbeat, Wishing, all that stuff. Did you know Dad
Yeah.
back then?
Yes, I met your dad. It's not that I didn't get much time with him because I don't know what happened. They had the show on KDAV along with who was it, Larry Welborn?
Yeah.
The three of them at one time, and then there was two. Then there was different ones that come in, but mostly, as far as I remember, your dad was for writing a lot of the songs that Buddy did. Besides, other things that there were country and pop rock type songs.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I didn't get a chance to to get to know your dad very well, and then pretty soon, I suppose he must have gone to Nashville, and Buddy stopped going to Nashville and started going over to Clovis to record. That's but I don't remember much about your dad, but I know that he did a lot of these songs. That one of my favorites, "Wishing," and "Love's Made a Fool of You," things like this that Buddy did. That "Wishing" songs always reminds me of like the Everly Brothers type harmony. But anyway, it was very. I wish I'd have got to know him better. That's all.
Yeah.
But we were all broke at the time, and so we couldn't choose where we wanted to go all the time.
Yeah. I have an idea of why y'all may not have spent too much. You're both very shy. I mean, dad was a shy person, and you're a shy person. I say dad was shy. He was a man of few words. And I've been around you enough to know that you're a man of few words. And so I could see that it could be difficult. But so you said you were all broke back then. Tell me a little bit
Well,
about.
I assumed the others were. I know I was.
Well, they were. After that time in Lubbock, they moved to Clovis. After
That's right. That's right.
when the
Yeah.
connection was made with Norman Petty and all that, Dad actually moved to Clovis to work with Norman Petty to learn how to engineer.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. He was over there some. I apparently either didn't get the connection between him and Lubbock, either that or I just didn't get enough time over there because many times when I was over there, it was just a kind of a rush deal. And yeah, I remember he went to Clovis and he worked over there for a while with Norman. Yeah.
Yeah, he was working in the cotton gin, the cotton mill.
Yeah, so was I.
Were
In
you?
another place. Yeah. In Levelland, I worked at Cotton Gin. But I
Yeah,
worked a night shift.
yeah. Now, did Dad and Buddy pick cotton to pay for a lot of those first demos that they did? Did you ever pick cotton?
Uh, no, I didn't pick cotton. My folks did, and my older siblings, they had to get in on that. I was a little bit later. I come along a little bit later in the family, so I never did actually have to pick cotton. Uh, by the time I was like 18, well, I was working sometimes in the gin, and I learned how to pick up a 500-pound bale of cotton. Well, actually, you roll it is what you do. You don't pick it up.
Yeah. Well, the square cotton bales you do, and that's what you call farm boy strings, right?
Yeah, yeah. You tip them over just like you let their weight. Uh, you use their weight to help you to move things. You can load the cotton bales onto a lowboy trailer. One person can, but you got to make them do some of the work. The bale has to be rocking just right or something.
Yeah. So,
Anyhow, we did most anything to get a few dollars.
yeah. What what got you into music?
Oh, I started out. My folks moved to western New Mexico. I was born in Lubbock. Then my folks uh, homesteaded some property in western New Mexico, and of course we were away. We had no radio. We had no utilities. We had nothing, and so there was out in the barn of the place where my dad leased his place or something, and that before he started on his homesteading, there was a Victrola out there, a record player, and the people that owned the place had left a record player there, and some old scratchy 78s, and a whole bunch of needles that were all scratchy. But anyway, that's where I learned about what a person could do with music and recording and stuff. And I was 6 years old, so that was, I guess, that would made a deep impression on me. So that's what I tried to do. I had it in the back of my mind. My family was all against it, and so they discouraged me. So I kept it to myself.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, nobody had experienced. Well, the world hadn't experienced the level of success that you can have as a songwriter or pop artist at that time. That was such a new thing.
yeah, sure. There was just a few. The country Jimmy Rogers, he had the records all over the place, and a few like that, and then some of the orchestras. But that's all I was exposed to. And anyway, that my the only time that I mentioned it to my dad when I was younger, that he said, "Well, you have to have a lot of talent to do this. And besides all that, you know, if you're a country boy, those the people that's already got it made, they won't let you. They won't let you in the group. They won't let you in the business." And he was basically right, but wrong.
Yeah. My dad said one time, he said, if I had known how impossible what I wanted to do was, I never would have
Uh-huh.
done it. He said, I never would have
Yeah.
done it if I had known
Oh, sure.
how impossible it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. My brother was 6 years older than me, so he was, much more level-headed than I was. I was willing to take chances with, something like rock and roll came along. Well, I was a little bit like the old blues songs of Jimmy Rogers and others, and so I just took right to it. And my brother never did. He never did like anything but maybe some country waltzes or something like that. And so he would discourage me every chance I got. And it was late in life, before he passed away. He told me, he said, I cannot believe that I what I said to you about all these things. He said, you guys were really on to something. That's the best I could get out of it. But he couldn't believe it, later on, that people were still doing this after I was 40, 50 years old, as people still. So he was a little older than that. But anyway, yeah, they didn't recognize what a person could do. And, it was kind of like a lottery. It probably had worse chances than the lottery, but it didn't slow people down like your dad and yourself. Well, Buddy and all the guys that I knew around West Texas, they never thought about the failures. They thought about uh, I I was there in Levelland. I went to a dance one time, and Jimmy Bowen and Buddy Knox were playing there, and of course it was a pretty good sized dance for a country, some little country town. And during the break, he came over and he said, "We've got it made." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "We've got it made. We've got it made." That's all he would say. He said him and Jimmy Bowen had got the contract with Roulette. And so his party doll was just going to be coming out. And so, I didn't even know it at the time. I was glad that somebody had it made, but, I hadn't even heard his song. And later on, of course, it was a big song, million seller.
You bring up Jimmy Bowen. I was thinking about him earlier today, and someone said I need to turn up my sound a little bit. There we go. Uh, so many, uh, so many guys like I think I've got a dirty pot there. So many of the guys like uh, Jimmy Bowen and Dad.
Mm.
They moved to Nashville and okay, like Buddy and Ji and Sonny Curtis. They
Yeah.
they went. I'm not sure if J.I. was even with them, but they went to Nashville that first time, and Sonny was well. My dad's told me this as well, but I was with Sonny interviewing him for Dad's documentary a couple of years ago, and we were behind the old Epic Records building where the studio is there, and they had when they went up there for that first time to record, they it was unsuccessful. Basically, they came back to Lubbock, and they were all poor kids. I mean, they didn't have anything, and they had shared. Dad said they shared, he and Buddy and Sonny, and I think somebody else was with him. I can't remember who was with him, but Dad said they ran out of money, and so they shared one hamburger on the ride all the way back to Lubbock. And and then I was standing there, I suddenly thought that was the very building that Dad, pretty much at the zenith of his career in the music business, he was the head of A&R at Epic Records and was producing Vern Gosdin and signed Colin Ray and, producing Joe Diffie and all that. That was in that very building that he'd walked into when they were 17 or 18 years old and didn't have anything and had to share a hamburger on the way back. And so many people, what I'm saying is, so many people from your area of the world, West Texas, ended up becoming the mavericks of the music business.
Yeah, they did.
Why do you think that is?
Well, no, I don't have any definitive answer for that. I suppose they just have a different way of looking at things, and they knew what it was to fail. That everyone that I knew had to go through quite a few failures, but they wanted it so bad. I guess that's another thing. They really wanted it bad. I know. Yeah, there's quite a few that turned out well. They did a lot better than the rest of us that went on and tried to do the music. Quite a few of them went to get an office job or to work with producing and recording, and they're the ones that made the money. And it was a lot more of a guaranteed money than the ones, like you said, the mavericks that tried to stay with the music. They're the ones that had to suffer for it, probably, because you can't stay on top. There's only a few people at the top, and so that's where it's at. But I always envied those guys that went to Nashville, but I didn't envy them enough to go and try to join them. I never did have a desire to go to Nashville.
Well, I was reading. Yeah, why is that? Because now I saw that you have 5 kids, and you were married to the same woman from 1963, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's not altogether right. The person that did the wiki page, she got quite a few things right. I'm wrong. I tried to tell her, what to do with this, but what she did was.
Do you like what she wrote better than what it is? Because
I'll get to that in just a second. She took excerpts of different interviews, and I don't know where she come up with some of these things, but it is true that I was married at 62, and I have 2 daughters. And then later on, there was a divorce, and I married a woman that had 3 kids. So that's where that came out. It doesn't matter. I told my daughter about it. She said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "Okay," but it's not that big of a thing, I'm saying. But anyway, yeah, I was married at 62, and I stayed married about 15 years, and then I was divorced for a while and then remarried. But I didn't try music all that time, though.
Yeah, you went into.
I think that's what you were going to get around to is what I did in the meantime. I did an awful lot of things that but I was used to moving because my folks moved all the time. When I was young, we didn't stay anywhere a year probably. It was just. I was telling somebody that I know this story gets old probably, but
no, it doesn't. It's the first time I've heard it.
Different schools
to
get through high school. to get through
24
12
different
grades.
24 different schools.
So I moved around a lot, and so I guess that's the reason why I didn't go to college. I didn't stick with too many types of jobs. I kept hanging on to the fact that I could probably write some songs or probably come do some playing. And I tried playing in bars, and I just couldn't stand it. After 2 or 3 weeks, it just gets so boring. I couldn't stand it. And you're having to play in a small place where nobody knows who you are and nobody cares, and everybody's drunk. I couldn't do that. So a lot of the times I was doing other things to make a living.
Now, is it true that you got into the jukebox business yourself? You had a jukebox business.
Because I had royalties coming in, but quite a few of the years, like in the '60s, the royalties were pretty poor.
Yeah. So I was it intrigued me that you got into the jukebox business. Is that true? Did you hear me?
Did I lose your sound?
I don't know. Maybe so. I don't think I've done anything. Could you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hold on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I barely hear you. It's just really low, very low.
Okay. Is everybody hearing me okay out there? Let's see. Let's see if people. We had that the other day with your phone, didn't you? Can you do the volume up on it at all? On your phone?
Yeah, my volume is up, but it's up like high as a goal, but right there. See if that works make any better. I can push a few buttons here. I don't know what.
Well, don't push too many. I'm scared of what'll happen.
That's mute. That's turn it off.
They're saying it sounds okay out there. Did my sound go all the way? Did it just sort of cut out on you? No, you cut out. There you are.
Okay.
There you are. You're back. Okay, don't touch anything.
Okay.
All right. Sorry. We did this for an hour and a half the other day, everybody listened, and we finally got it right. So we don't want to mess it up now. But yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I can barely hear you myself, but
man, I don't know what happened. I promise I haven't changed anything.
But if you can hear me, I guess that's the main thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can.
I like hearing you talk, but I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions and then let you get going. So, when did you meet Buddy Holly? Did you meet him, or was it just Norman played the stuff? Now there you are.
Yeah, I met Buddy Holly at the radio station in Lubbock. Might have been the same time that I met Bob. I don't remember who was with Buddy. There seems like there was a couple of guys with Buddy, and it was on that Sunday afternoon thing, open mic thing, and so I was over there in Lubbock, and I went to the KDAV, and I asked Dave Stone. I asked him if I could sing a song or two. I thought I could, find something to sing, and I just wanted to do something. And Buddy was and his crew were still in the studio, and so Mr. Stone says, "Well, the boys are about done in there, so when they come out, so you go in there and play a song or two, sing a song or two." So, during the time that they were coming out of the studio, I was taking my guitar in, and we talked a little bit there. That was the first time I met Buddy. Then later on, it was over in Clovis, because after his Decca Records, basically canceled his contract. Then he went, first part of 57, he went to Clovis and started doing some recording. And I had already done some recording over there. Back when Buddy was going to Nashville, I was going to Clovis to record some demos and different things there. So that's when Buddy come back to Lubbock, and he had lost his contract with Decca. Then he started going back to Lubbock and started recording over there a lot. So I saw him over there quite a few times.
I love your version of, I mean, you wrote it, but I love your version of Oh Boy. You called it All My Love.
Yeah.
I loved it. And it has Glenn D. Harden on the piano. I mean, Glenn D. was in high school at the time of the recording.
Yeah, I
correct?
know. He's about 15 or 16.
Unbelievable. I mean, the parts he was playing, it was amazing.
Yeah, I know. The guy was good. Of course, he made it into a little boogie woogie type background, and then we had a guy playing a horn just to give it a little accent, and I think we did it like the first time through or something like that, because I had just written it. I didn't even actually have a name for it. I just called it All My Love because that's the first 3 words of the song.
Where did
I have a hard time hearing you?
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what we can do about it. But
okay.
How did you record? Where did you record that? Did you do it at Petty Studio?
Yeah, I recorded that at Petty Studio, and Glenn went over there with me. He was going to school in high school, I think, in Levelland, because he lived in Ropesville or somewhere like that. And we'd got together a few times. The drummer that I was playing with, his mom had a dance studio, so we could use her studio when she didn't have classes there. So that's where we had gone over the song there. I guess I took a drummer with me, I suppose.
Was it that guy Watts?
Glenn.
Was his name Watts?
Huh?
The drummer's name, was it Watts? I can't remember.
Drummer's name was Doc McKay.
Doc McKay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good drummer. He reminded me a lot of J.I.
Oh, he was a perfect drummer. He played on my Rockabilly record of Rockola Ruby.
Yep.
And another guy that he went to school with played the double bass. And another guy played the lead guitar, which was he didn't stay long because he was a little bit older than us, and also, he couldn't stick around when there's no work. So that's how. Anyway, I did that. I did different demos at Clovis because Norman was making. He had some kind of a special where he could cut you like 5 records for maybe $20-$25 and let you do one song, and he could cut it on a 45 cut record. Remember those audio discs?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead. I was just going to paint a picture, for those that haven't been to Norman Petty Studios there in Clovis, New Mexico. Clovis, New Mexico is a medium-sized town for New Mexico, but it's pretty small. But it's out in the middle of nowhere, and it became a recording hub for kids like you and Buddy Holly and Buddy Knox and Jimmy Bowen, and it's still there today. All that equipment is there. It's like walking back into time. It's like walking back in time.
Yeah.
You go in, everything's still there.
He put out a record in about 1953 that it played a lot on the radio, and so he made some money. that way. And when I first went over there to Clovis, Norman had a radio show also. He would do a remote broadcast from his place. It was some kind of highbrow music, and he did an hour or two a day of that, or maybe more. So he would do these recordings for people to come in and want to make their own recording, and that's the only way I could get a demo to send off is to get a cut record, because there was no tape recorders for individuals, to carry a tape recorder around. So if I wanted to send a record to somebody, either that or I wanted my sister and brother-in-law to have one to listen to or something, I had to get one cut over there. So that's one main reason why I was going over there at that time.
I noticed that Buddy changed some of the lyrics on All My Love. And maybe Rave On too. He kind of tailored it to himself. Did he ask you if you could change him, or did he just do it and then you were like, okay, it's Buddy, so let him do it? What were your thoughts?
But Norman had played it for Buddy on Oh Boy, and he called me over there and wanted me to listen to it. The one that Buddy did. It was before the voices were added, the vocal background, and of course I thought it was great, and I didn't have any real activity going with the song anyway, and so I wanted Buddy to do it. And when I've heard it, I thought that's the greatest thing I ever heard in my life. And it was similar to that with Rave On. I'd later on, that a few months after that, then I took Rave On over there and recorded a demo. It wasn't a demo to bring back home or anything. It's just to kind of satisfy myself to see if it was actually a viable song. And then Norman happened to like it. And Buddy was over there one time, and he heard that song. He had heard that song that I guess Norman had played it for. And he said, I really want to record that song. And I said, at that time, I said, I've got a contract with, I'm supposed to get a contract with Atlantic Records to do that song. And I said, if you give me like 2 months, let me put the song out. And if I get the contract with Atlantic, let me have 2 or 3 months before you release yours. So I don't mind you recording it. And, I want you to record it. But if mine doesn't go, which, you've got, I said, you're the one that's got the name and the sound and everything. I said, but I want to see if mine will try my luck with it. And he said, okay, we'll record it. And so he actually recorded it before my record was released, but they didn't release his until April. Mine was come out in February of 58. And so he recorded it, and he didn't release it until April of that year. On my recording here's my picture of my ad in the Billboard magazine. Which way am I going with that? See what it says?
Yeah.
Billboard magazine, February 17th, 1958. So that's my a copy of my. Anyway, Atlantic didn't do too much with it, and it didn't make the money back that they wanted to have. So so Buddy put that out, and I didn't try anymore to try to promote my Rave On. It was it just didn't seem like it had anything that would really get your attention. That was that's the only thing I thought about it. It was was an all right recording. It was a sax driven recording that I was not in favor of, but Buddy Norman had this all arranged, and he didn't really ask me if I wanted to or not.
Yeah, I was listening to another interview that you'd done. He had put together a band. It was just a studio band, right?
Do you want me to log on again?
Yeah. You know what? I'll play Wishing. I'm gonna play Wishing, and why don't you log on and you try to log in again? And while you're trying to log in again, I'll do a song for everybody. Okay? All right. This is Wishing that Dad and Buddy did. They wrote this for the Everly Brothers. Wishing that I could see you every day. Wishing that I could steal your heart away. Dreaming of the time I could hold you tight. Wishing that the time would come tonight. I've been hoping all along things would turn out right. If I could find a wishing star, then I would spend the night wishing that I could see you every day. Wishing that I could steal your heart away. Oh my God. Oh my God, this guitar just went completely crazy. That was going so well until... Can you hear me now? Are you there?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I'm going to bring you in.
All right.
I think I'm going to bring you in.
Yeah, well, I can hear you anyway.
There we go. All right.
No, that helped. It was really hard to read your lips.
This guitar just completely went out of tune. Anyway, yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, fine.
You can hear me now, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it works a lot better. Works a lot better when you got something turned on there. I guess it was my phone. Something happened to it probably. Anyway, if that happens again, what I'll do is just log out and get logged back on.
Hey, man, I feel like we have a whole new interview happening now.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I should have brought my lunch.
Yeah. No, you know what? This stuff is fascinating to me, and I know it is to a lot of other people.
Yeah, me too.
How did Buddy recording? How did Buddy recording that song? How did that affect your life?
Oh, it was. I guess you could say it was the biggest success I had was with his recording of my songs, and I've written a lot of other things since then, but I don't have even during the '60s, I didn't have anybody like Buddy that I could kind of like lean on to see what they thought of the song or if they could record it or something. And so it was a it was a big downer, after the tragedy of losing him. But um, it's it still goes on. But the fact is that those things do happen. So um, these songs, I was just mentioning earlier about working at the gin. Uh, that was about the time Old Boy came out. I was working at the night shift, and so I could go inside the office, and turn on the radio uh, that was in the office. And at nighttime, you know how West Texas is. The sound bounces all over from stations all over the United States and some other countries too, but mostly the AM stations all there was. So I could go in there anytime. I mean, I'm maybe stretching it a little bit, but I could go in there almost anytime into the office and turn on the AM radio at night, and I could flip the dial around, and I could find Old Boy on the dial. I mean, I could find it playing, and then when that got through, I could flip the dial back somewhere, and I'd find some station in Louisiana or Mississippi or back east, Chicago or something, and sure enough, there would be the song again. So I guess there's nothing like the fact that you can hear your a song that you wrote, and you could hear it so many times in one night. Uh, so you knew that it was all over the world by that time.
What was the first time? Tell me about the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio. Like the first time you heard Buddy doing it on the radio. What was that like?
I don't know. I'll kind of give you goosebumps, I guess, something like that. I had heard his version before before it actually went on the radio and over at the studio. And, of course, that was a blast because they had the huge speakers in the control room of the studio. And after they added the uh, background vocals, I got a chance to hear the finished product before it actually was on the radio. But I don't remember how I heard it on the radio. It was probably, you know, they played it a lot in Lubbock, so it was probably from there that I actually heard it. And along about that same time, Peggy Sue, the song Peggy Sue was out, so they're playing a lot of Buddy Holly stuff. His That'll Be the Day had kind of gone downhill, and so Oh Boy was the follow up to That'll Be the Day by the Crickets, and so it naturally got a lot of jukebox orders and a lot of jukebox plays because it was a follow up to a hit. How can you beat that if you? That'll Be the Day was a real groundbreaker, and with Oh Boy coming along, it was it was bound to sell something, even if it wasn't all that great. It was going to sell, but anyway, it took off really good. And then the backside of Oh Boy was Not Fade Away. This was another kind of like groundbreaking song. So the record played a lot on the jukeboxes, and they were very influential in those days.
During
They were.
yeah, so during the 60s when you had these songs on the radio, what were you doing as a job? Was that your job, or were you working a regular job?
Oh, I worked in the jukebox business during the '60s for about just about all the '60s, from the beginning to the end. 10 years I worked in the jukebox business, and most of the time in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so I figured, at least I have my foot in the door for in the music. At least I could. Uh, I had a job that was kind of connected to the music, but I also did a lot of other jobs. Trying mining and all different kinds of jobs that installing nurse call systems, and I worked a lot with low voltage wiring systems in construction. I did a lot of things like that to, you know, to make a living for my family.
Yeah.
And the royalties during the '60s were, they're really flat, and so it was by the mid '70s that when they came back again. And during that time, so many things happened with Buddy's music. Uh, here in the States, Buddy's music was pretty flat all during the '60s, and overseas, well, especially in England and Europe, uh, they Buddy was big over there. So it was during that time that they they kept on, buying his records, and then pretty soon they changed from records to tapes, and then tapes to CDs. But here in America, the songs really started selling a lot more than they did even in the early days, in about mid '70s, and uh, Paul McCartney's hooked up, with the Eastmans and the with the publishing company that started buying uh, songs they started buying catalogs of songs. And so they made an offer for Buddy's songs from Norman, all the ones that he controlled, which was almost every one of them. And I think they bought about 45 numbers from Norman Petty's company, and the Southern Music had the royalties that they were collecting here in America, and then they still collect royalties like in Germany and England and Japan. But the Eastman lawyers, they took over what them with Paul McCartney had a lot of disposable money in the '70s, probably
Yeah.
still does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Disposable
they bought
income.
Edwin Morris Agency. They bought a lot of things. Anyway, they bought those, and immediately, whether it was their doings or whether it was just the culture, the movies started coming out with songs in them. The movies similar to American Graffiti, and then later on Buddy Holly Story. But then there was the Happy Days on TV that got to be like number one in the country, and then they on Happy Days they had a little band and they liked songs like "Oh Boy," and of course they played it a lot. So that caused the radio stations, mostly the AMs at that time, they were looking for a program that would, basically please older people and younger people too. So they went to the programs of playing what they call golden oldies, which was mostly '50s. When they first started, it was mostly '50s, and so they just played them 24 hours a day. And the casinos, would pick up and they'd play. If they wanted to play some happy music, they played the American '50s music. So it was it was good times in the mid '70s on. It was great.
So, I gathered from this other interview I heard, and also, what you said earlier, that your recording of Rave On, you felt like maybe you could have done it in a different way. If you could have your dream band, right, record that that includes those that are unknown and those that are known to the audience, who would you have play on that record?
Oh, that's a hard question,
I know it.
Kevin.
I know it is. I know it is. But I that came to my mind. I want to hear your answer.
Actually, Rave On is not an easy song to play.
It isn't
Uh,
because I've played it live before, and it's not. It's not easy.
it's not, I've heard 1,000 different versions of it, and I've actually done half of that many. Not recording, but trying to do. And if I do it myself, uh, there's it sounds a little lacking of something, but I can do it. With just a guitar and vocal. But if I had the band, I just don't know. What happened in what happened with that song is that it needs a uh, it doesn't follow a regular rock pattern. That's all it is, and so it needs uh, like what we used to call a syncopated type rhythm, and they were able to accomplish it. Buddy accomplished it, I think, as well as anyone, or better than anyone. But it was the fact that he had the disposal of this whole band. He recorded that. You probably know this stuff, but he recorded that in New York. He didn't record it in Clovis at Petty's. So he had J.I. was playing the drums, and as you know, J.I. was, when he played the drums, he knew what Buddy was looking for with the guitar. So his drums and the guitar played together very well. But then in the recording of Rave On, I'm going a roundabout way now to tell you.
No, it's good. This is good.
In the recording of Rave On, they had two guitar players there that were session players. So Buddy didn't play guitar on Rave On. And one of the guys that played was Al Caola. I don't remember the other guy's name. So they were just there, to play or not play. They were going to be there. And I guess if there was session money to be made, they were going to be there and play. I think they had 8 different people to pick from to do the background vocals. And mainly they chose the male vocals, and they didn't do very much except like this, but that's what it needed. It needed that kind of a raspy sound, and Norman played the piano, and he had kind of a tinkling sound, and just a short part of the solo, and I don't know, they got the right rhythm out of it, and Buddy had the right expressions with the song. So I don't know how I could do it any better than that if I was trying to record it myself, which is probably not ever going to happen like that. But if it did, I'd probably want to pattern it after that. And so most anybody could play that what they played on that, but it's just it wound up where it had a lot of energy. It was a very short song, so you couldn't drag it out much further with the short amount of verses and things like that. So it was 1 minute and 45 seconds long. So it was, but it came on, and when it came on, it just gave you energy when you listened to it, and that's the whole thing of the song. It was one of those that they talked about in the hearings in Congress, that or in the Senate, wherever those hearings were about payola. Well, they used Rave On as an example of a anthem for hoodlums, because they were. This is actually in the records.
Oh my God! An anthem for hoodlums.
Yeah, because back in those days, hoodlums would steal they wouldn't steal cars; they would steal hubcaps. But this was like because they used one of the guys that was speaking one day during those hearings. He said, "Well, now this song here, like the Rave On, I guess he must have played a snippet of it or something." He said, in other words, it makes people a little wild. Is what he was trying to say. So he said that there was nothing more than an anthem for hoodoo. And so actually, their hearings probably kind of dampened the plays on the air, because that's about the same time that Alan Freed got fired. He was the one that, was doing all those shows in New York. I mean, booking all the shows in New York with besides the Crickets. It was a lot of the big artists, the black artists like Chuck Berry and Little Richard and all of these that.
Well, just think of how many you have been you incited so many hubcaps to be stolen across the United States. And think of how much crime has been committed, as a result of your, of your songwriting.
I know the thing should have been banned. Could have been put in prison or something.
Oh my God. That is really funny.
Yeah. I'll have to find that. I'll have to find that place where that quote came from, and because it's in the congressional records, and God. Somebody had it. I think you remember Bill Griggs. He did a lot of stuff in Lubbock with
yeah. God rest his soul.
Writing all about Buddy and the 50 Stars. He did so much research and everything. Yeah, he had something about that.
Well,
look it up.
So, speaking of that song, do you feel like playing a song for us today?
I can. Is that a good answer?
Yeah.
I can give it a try.
I'd love
and
that.
I can do a little bit of that, and we can I don't know, I'll try to keep the guitar where it's not drowning everything.
All right.
Huh?
Yeah, just go ahead, and you're on camera. You're the one on camera now, and just go for it.
Okay. What?
Do Oh Boy or Rave On, either one.
Okay. Well, how about both? Little things you say and do make me want to be with you. Rave on, it's crazy feeling. I know it's got me reeling when you say I love you, rave on. Well, the way you dance and hold me tight, the way you kiss, say goodnight, rave on, it's a crazy feeling. I know it's got me reeling when you say I love you, rave on. Well, rave on, it's a crazy feeling. I know it's got me reeling. I'm so glad you're revealing your love for me. Rave on and tell me not to be lonely. Tell me you love me only, rave on me. Oh, you say I love you, rave on. Okay, good. All right, I don't know what. You don't expect me to go right into another one, do you? missing, oh boy. You'll be, oh boy. The world can see that you were meant for me. All my life I've been waiting. Tonight there'll be no hesitating, oh boy. You and me, oh boy. The world can see that you were meant for me. On the beer and the shadow of the falling, you can hear my heart calling. A little bit of love is the big thing. I'm gonna see my baby tonight. All my love, all my kissing. You don't know what you've been missing, oh boy. When you're with me, oh boy, the world can see that you were meant for me.
Oh man, that is great. That is great. That was
Yeah.
excellent.
It's hard to get into something when I've been talking all this long, and then I wasn't thinking about what I was going to do. Anyway, I got through some of it.
Man,
That's good.
I love that. That is awesome. I know. When he started doing that, all the hearts started flying up on the screen. Yeah, yeah. In these chats. Now I'm gonna look I'm gonna look down here and I'm gonna see if anybody has anybody have any questions. And I'm gonna. So this guy Paul Richardson says, "This is an absolute privilege. Never thought I'd ever hear the like. So many thanks, Sonny." John Gribben says hello. Eric Theodore, one of my buddies in Nashville, who's a great songwriter himself, said, "Tell Sonny he sounds great." Kelly Walker, "Oh boy, that was brilliant. Loved it." Nick Constantine says, would you guys ever do an album together? That would be great. Well, you know what? We wrote a song. We started a song down there in Lafayette, Louisiana, and I was thinking about that. I recorded the writing session. We got to figure that out. Maybe we should record that.
Well, we probably could. Yeah.
We know
people. We could get a few things together. It would be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We know people. Now, so I'm just kind of monitoring what everybody's saying. Do y'all have any questions?
You didn't say anything about my T-shirt.
Oh yeah. I love that
T-shirt. T-shirt. I'll stand up.
Yeah, that's that picture of you for the Rave On record. Now.
Yeah. This was. I had this one here. It has. Let's see. Where's the camera? There's I had a cigarette in my hand. That wouldn't go over very well today.
Yeah, it's not very PC, right? Because
it's not really very PC. But so yeah. I thought it was cute that it's on. I put it on the TV on a T-shirt.
Now,
anyway,
did you
something?
Yeah. Did you smoke back then?
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't know if I could.
Hey, John Gribben would like to know, where can he get one of those T-shirts?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to probably send it, and I can't sell them because there is a situation that someone else made the shirt, and I wound up with some of them, but I can't actually sell them. So,
well, we'll make. You can make some of your own. How about that?
Yeah, I probably should maybe.
Now someone's asking about you coming over here to the UK on tour again. What are your thoughts about that? Do you know? I gather, and this is just from my investigation of your life on Wikipedia, which we all know can be horribly inaccurate. I used to have a Wikipedia page, and I kept editing it because it was inaccurate. And I got a little annoyed, and I sent them an email, and they got annoyed back, and they took my Wikipedia page off. And I thought, well, good for you. That's fine because it's inaccurate anyway. If I want something on the internet, I'll put it on my website. But
that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Wikipedia. I always liked Wikipedia at first. I thought it was great, and then you don't know who's adding these things and what credentials.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
anyway.
And people do edit them, in sometimes nefarious ways.
Yeah. So you were talking about stuff that you had learned about on the internet.
Yeah. So I gather that you, and I may be wrong, but I gather that you haven't done a whole lot of touring, and maybe in the past, 10 or 15, 20 years, you started getting a little bit more freedom to kind of move around a little bit. And you did some tours in the UK and France, maybe, or Spain. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I've been to all those. I've been to Italy, Spain, Canary Islands, France, England. I wouldn't mind doing that, but I'm not young anymore. But if we ever get rid of some of this virus so that we can fly, I wouldn't mind doing something. I don't want to do a long show or something. I can't do that. But just to be there, to do a few numbers and give support to the guys that are actually doing the work there, I wouldn't mind going. It's not something that I would dread to do. I'd like to do it, but it's not. I don't know how lucrative it would be for anybody, for me to do that, but it might be some fun. That's what I like to think about.
Absolutely. Do you so where have you toured in Europe?
Well, I just went over there on one-offs, shows like the Rockabilly Weekenders.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of those. The one we went to in Italy, it was probably about 5 days, and so what they do is they have a whole bunch of, they had 10 American bands, and then, a lot of them were, older guys like myself. Then they have a lot of the modern guys, modern rockabillys from all over Europe that come there, and they play also, maybe numerous bands. But when I was on that one, it was like, besides myself, there was probably, that's been 10 years ago probably, and it was, there was Sleepy LaBeef, he's since passed away. There was Dale Hawkins, he's since passed away. This depressing, isn't it? And then there was...
don't go on tour with them. No, I'm just kidding.
Sonny Burgess and Hayden Thompson. There was like 10 of us on there. Roddy Jackson. And that was, it was a lot of fun to go. And it's long flights over there, stuff like that. But if it's not that bad of a deal.
Tell me a little bit. Can you tell me about when you wrote "Oh Boy"? How'd you get the idea, or "All My Love," and how long did you? Like, I was talking to Jerry Fuller, who, by the way, I just want to make this announcement. Jerry Fuller, he wrote "I'm a traveling man, I travel around." He wrote "Show and Tell." Just a game. He wrote "Young Girl, Get Out of My Mind." I produced all that, Gary Puckett, Union Gap. He's going to be my guest on February 28th, Sunday, February 28th. And next week we have Carlin Carter. But I was talking to Jerry. Jerry's like my second father. When I lived in LA, I probably spent 3 or 4 nights a week at his house with he and his wife, Annette. And He, he's literally like my second dad. And he
Mhm.
was telling me that
Yeah.
he wrote Traveling Man in 10 minutes. Top to bottom, it was finished in 10 minutes. What was
Yeah.
the process for Oh Boy? And then I want to ask you about Rave On as well.
Well, the Oh Boy was, uh, it was one that I wrote totally by myself. There was others, there's other people added a few things to them, but Oh Boy, it went totally by itself. And it was one of the fastest ones that I've written, although it wasn't 20 minutes or something. The basic part of the song came about within a few minutes, and then the the second verse was it took a little time to write the second verse. The first one, I was there was other songs, from the past, like pop song that uh, that mentioned all my love and all my kissing together, in those in a sentence in a verse of the song. That's been in quite a few different songs, but I was actually I was in a state of desperation at the time I wrote this, not love life or anything I'm talking about. It's just that I had I had I wrote the song, that Rockola Ruby, and I thought we put out a record on it, which was a big mistake because it was, it would probably sell some, and it was probably a good sounding song, but it's the time had passed, before for it to come out. It was not one of the early ones. So anyway, I was pretty disappointed. I was in debt and indebted to my brother-in-law, who's put quite a bit of money in the thing. And so I said, I'm going to have to write about something besides dancing or something like this. And so I started thinking pretty hard, and I come up with this "All My Love and All My Kiss," and I started it out as a song that would have the stops in the beginning, "All My Love, All My Kisses." Uh, so it went together real quick, and the second verse probably was the next day, something like that. So a day or two, it was totally done, and I didn't nitpick it to death like I do now. It's just one of those things that just happen. And nowadays I'm always thinking, well, is this the right word or is this that? I have too much time on my hands to do that because I want to have a perfect song, and sometimes you can't. But I've heard people say that the good songs are a lot of the really good songs just fall into place, and so it did. It fell into place pretty well just from the get go. It was uh, it was one of the faster ones. The the Rave On was very hard to write, and I guess that's why it's so hard to figure it out and what it actually says, and people didn't understand it when it came out. The younger kids that were buying records like Buddy's records, they had no idea what that song was talking about. They just liked the sound of it, but they didn't know what it was. I mean, besides the kissing goodnight or something, they understand that, but they didn't understand why it was saying rave on and things like that, because that was an expression that some people used, especially in the South, as a expression of affirmation or something like that. But it wasn't like young kids would use that. It was like older people, like amen, like in church and things like that. So the guy that I was writing with, he wrote some, or I was trying to write with him, the Tillman guy. He wrote some things out, and he had the song as a negative. In other words, uh, uh, how can I say that it wasn't the song that you hear now, because Rave On had to turn into a positive, and it's really hard to go from that from rave on to I love you. What his was one of these. derisive songs like "Rave On, brother." I know, you're crazy. If you believe this or that, or uh, it was that kind of a thought that was in the song. So we worked on that for quite a while, and I said, I just don't like it. It's not gonna do anything. Rave On, brother. It's just not gonna work. And so he got pretty disappointed with the whole thing, and I got pretty disappointed with it. But he kind of hung on to the idea about Rave On, and I said, okay, we'll work on it, but we're going to have to put a different spin on it,
Is he
and it's
still
going
up?
to have to.
Is he still upset?
No, he passed away quite a few years ago, but uh, no, he wasn't upset after the song came out. Of course, that was fine. But I'm just saying that that's the way he wanted to write it, and I tried different ways to write it. I actually took it to Clovis one time, and I told Norman I wanted to make a demo of it, and he was he started up the recorder, and I think I was probably playing guitar and singing it, and about about 30 seconds into it, he turned the recorder off, and he came out of the studio and he said, "That'll never work."
Oh,
And I said, "Well, that reaffirms what I was saying all the time." So I didn't get upset about it. I said, "I knew it wasn't going to work, but I said, just had to do something." And he didn't tell me what we should do with it. He was wanting to take his part of it at the end, but he didn't actually add anything to it. But we went back and I worked on it a long time. I told Mr. Tillman, I said, "Don't be bringing any more beer over here and drinking and trying to write this thing. Just leave me alone." And we'll come up with something. Leave me alone for about a week. I don't want to see you around.
that's
So
funny.
anyway, it worked out. I'm sure he added some things to it before we actually took it to record it. And so when it was time to record it, or I thought it was ready to be recorded, uh, the the band called the Big Beats. Uh, Trini Lopez was the guitar player, and C.W. Kendall was I guess he was a piano player. Then they had a sax. It was like a big band for me. That's one reason why I didn't like the recording. It was just a straight up rock and roll song, uh, and it sounded like every other song that they did because they had sax lead, sax introduction, sax lead, and a sax conclusion. So uh, anyway, that was that. It's water under the bridge.
Okay, someone asked about Norman Petty being involved in some of the credits, and so this is such a it can be such a contentious thing. So let me go ahead and say this right now. Now, when I was about 11 years old, Dad was understudy underneath Norman in the studio, and
Yeah,
Norman taught him how to engineer. And when I was about 11 years old, we went to Lubbock, and we visited with Norman and Vi, and they were super nice. And my dad had a lot of affection for them. So, um, you know, I don't. You were there, and you will have your experiences. Um, so this person asked, "How do you feel about Norman's name being on the songs? Did he contribute to the songs, to the song?"
okay.
So that's where I'm coming from. My dad liked Norman and didn't have a
Mhm.
problem. If I can project onto the situation, sometimes
Oh,
you do.
yeah.
If I can just you know, and I wasn't there, but sometimes you do things as a business arrangement, and you know that things are going to be the way they're going to be, and you accept that and you involve yourself in that situation. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be quiet now and let you answer the question.
Okay. Yeah. I I like Norman all right. Uh, I I was a different individual than he was, but he he seemed to always be a nice guy, and you know he seemed to be somebody you could trust. I don't think that what he did was what he should have done. See, when I go over there with a song, let's say I've got a song and he's going to promote it or record it or have somebody record it and he wants to publish it. I have no problem with him publishing a song because I didn't know what publishing was all about. I naturally learned later on that's half the song is the publishing. Well, he should have been happy with half of the song, even if he had spent quite a bit of time promoting somebody, or if he spent no time at all. And if he promoted a bunch of songs and only one of them ever made any money, he still didn't deserve to take writer's credit. Uh, Besides the half of the song for the publisher, but he did. So uh, he didn't ask me if I wanted to give, give him writer's credit. Whenever I took a song over there that he wanted to publish and maybe do something with it, he just had the papers filled out, and I just went in there and signed them because I could see that his name is on there and my name is on there. So I was complicit in the thing. I wouldn't have done it that way as I was older, but the way it is, I still owe him a lot because how would all this have come about if it wasn't for him? So I, I didn't have anything against him. I thought he did a little bit too much of uh, because he had the power. That's all. And I don't have any uh, hard feelings about him. I still make money off the songs. And even if I didn't, if I sold them, I would have had, the money. So uh, it's just that whenever I went in there to do a song, and suppose it was just me and the other guy that, was, we had the song and we had, Norman would take 50% because he was the publisher. Then he would take like a third of this. So he wound up with half the song plus part of the writing, and that's and the writer wound up owning 1/6 of the song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it didn't seem right. I know Buddy he felt the same way, and Buddy before he passed away, he was suing Norman to try to get control of some of his royalties that he thought that he should be getting, things like that. But Buddy had lost an awful lot with that arrangement, and it is true that Norman was the one that helped him perfect his sound, and so how much is it worth? I don't know. It's but Buddy had a lot more to gain or lose than I did. It's just that I thought that Norman he talked to quite a few people about this particular subject later on in life. And he said, well, I spent a lot of time with those people, developing this thing. But he lumped me in with those others. He never spent any time with me, but he still took the same thing. So it is what it is. I don't hold any bad feelings toward Norman or anybody there. That's all. He sold the publishing rights, and he still collects royalties. I mean, his heirs do, and so a lot of royalties. But that's fine. It worked out okay. I've had a good life. I don't hold any grudges against people like that. he didn't like drinking, smoking, chasing girls, but and I did. We just didn't hit it off really good. Uh, so what else can I say about it? That was his. That was his life, and this is mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good answer. You know. Yeah. Like I said, Dad didn't have anything against Norman. You know.
Yeah,
It just it was what it was, and he had a
and
great.
there's also other scenarios that I was talking to you about Buddy Knox, how him and Jimmy Bowen, they said, "Oh, we've got it made. We got a hit record coming out." Buddy Knox told me later on that he never got anything from Roulette. So you see, I was in a much better position, and so was your dad. So was Bob. And at least we had a part of it. That that's what Buddy Knox said. He said he didn't get anything from Roulette. So I don't know what he means by anything, but he said he didn't.
Yeah.
And I never talked to Jimmy Bowen about it, but that's what Buddy Knox said.
Did you know Jimmy Bowen much?
Just by seeing him at the studio and then at a couple of dances, I I didn't know him like personally. Just knew him when I met him. That's all.
Yeah.
Same with Buddy Knox. I didn't know him. They lived up north of Lubbock. We were going to college up there when they started that the band. The Rhythm Orchids. they they got who was that? The guy from Seminole. Anyway, he helped to finance their recording that they did in a Party Doll and I'm Sticking with You. It was a two-sided record with two different artists.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
Jimmy was on one side, Buddy was on the other.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I was listening to I went on YouTube and I was listening to your stuff and I found Rockola Ruby, and that song to me, I mean it. What basically happened was I found your version, which was great, and then it was just band after rockabilly band from like Europe all over the world doing that song, and maybe I'm wrong, but that song wasn't ever really a hit on the charts, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
but
Not
but
here. Yeah.
but it's kind of become like this iconic song within every rockabilly band throughout the world. They're covering it, right?
Yeah, a lot of bands have covered it, and a lot of people, the DJs at these weekenders, that they'll have DJs playing part of the time, and they usually play that. And also, there's quite a few bands will play it as one of their uh, perennial songs. Yeah, that's true. We had I thought the song was pretty well nothing, but I think the performance I thought was fine. I was satisfied with the record as far as it sounded the way I thought it should sound. We recorded that in a theater.
In the
Uh,
Orpheum, what is it? The Orpheum Theater there in Clovis,
Lyceum Theater.
Lyceum. Yeah.
No, a theater built back in 1920, so that'd be 100 years ago. Yeah, so Norman didn't have a recording. He didn't have the echo thing. I wanted an echo. Who doesn't want echo with, well, reverb? We call it echo. And who doesn't want that whenever you've got a pretty thin band? But he didn't have his studio fixed. Norman didn't. So he said, this was like mid 1956. He said, I can get the theater down here, and it has a cathedral type sound, and so that's what it come out is the ways you hear it now, and that was satisfactory for me. I thought it was good. The double bass sounds good. The drums sound good. Well. He used cardboard boxes for the drum, just a cymbal he used, but for the bass drum and they used a cardboard box.
That's awesome.
So we set up on stage.
It's a cool recording. It's a cool recording. I mean, it's a classic recording.
After the show was over, a couple of people hung around, and then some of the band members or families or something came there. But then we set up on stage, and Norman set up his semi-portable Ampex recorder. It was, we called it a portable, but actually it probably weighed about 200 pounds. And he set that up, put in a couple of mics, and here we went after it. And the guy that was playing guitar, he had, he had to put all the fills in and all the introduction and stuff. And he was playing a Les Paul Jr. and I guess a small Gibson amp. That was it. And drums, bass, guitar. That was sizable. I had a Martin acoustic. Of course, you can't hear it it's in there, but it's hard. You can't really hear it. So that was it.
Okay. Paul Richardson wants to know, did you ever meet Jimmie Rodgers, as he mentioned roulette?
No, I didn't meet the Jimmie Rodgers from my era. No, I didn't. And of course the one before either. So I didn't meet either one of them. No, I always liked Jimmie Rodgers, though. He had some really cool songs. Besides Honeycomb was, a big breakout hit, but he had a lot of other songs that were very good.
Hey, Michael Delph, who's from England, who goes over to the surf ballroom every year. He just said, remind Sonny he got the biggest applause last year at the surf ballroom.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, I just have to say, I'm glad that we met, and have become friends, because you're a true gentleman. And, it's just, I really, love talking to you and being around you. I'm glad we're talking.
That's a big ditto for me, because you're a really cool guy, and even if it wasn't for your dad and all that stuff, you, in your own right, you do a lot of really great music, and I hope we can do something together sometime. Maybe we'll get together at the Songwriters Festival. If not, we'll get together somewhere else, maybe.
Yeah, that thing is probably going to happen in Lubbock this year, and hopefully we'll be able to travel and do that. And when we do that, we definitely need to write a song. We need to finish our song. We have a song that we've written, and you said you were trying to get away from the dancing songs, but I think it was a dancing tune.
Well, that's okay. No, I meant trying to get away from 100% dancing song. Where all you can play is the three chords and stuff like this.
Yeah. Was there an artist okay, here's a question I have for you. Did you ever see Buddy do your songs live?
on television. I was on. No, I didn't. I didn't ever see him do the songs when I was in the audience. No,
No.
no, I didn't.
Did you
No,
see Elvis when he came through Lubbock?
no, I didn't.
And why was that?
Um, well, I don't know. I don't really know what it was. I suppose that uh,